Did you know that Australia has the highest skin cancer rate in the world? And 21 of the 25 most venomous snakes call it home? Sounds intense, right? While Australia is often painted as a land of beaches, barbecues, and sunshine, the reality behind the postcard perfect image might shock you. Beneath the beauty lies a side that rarely makes it into travel brochures. A side filled with sky-high living costs, mental health struggles, and a level of isolation that can make you feel like you're on a deserted island. Whether you're dreaming of moving down under or just curious about what life there is really like, stick around, because what we're about to uncover might just make you rethink everything you thought you knew about life in Australia. And trust me, number 9 is something no one talks about, but everyone should hear. Number 10, cultural adjustment, feeling like an outsider. Here's something most people don't tell you before moving to Australia. Just speaking English isn't enough to fit in. Sure, there's no language barrier on paper, but the cultural code? That's a whole different story. From day one, many newcomers find themselves feeling like outsiders in a land that should feel familiar. Aussies are friendly, but their social circles can be tight-knit and hard to break into, especially in smaller towns. Most friendships are formed in school or early work years, so if you're arriving later in life, it can feel like everyone already has their people. Add in the slang, like arvo, keen, or mate, and the dry, often sarcastic humour, and it can leave even native English speakers confused and disconnected. Even little things like understanding the Aussie attitude towards authority, personal space, or work-life balance can be a learning curve. What's meant as casual or humorous can sometimes come across as rude or dismissive, especially if you're from a more formal culture. But here's the thing, you're not alone, and cultural shock is real, even in English-speaking countries. The key is to get involved, join local clubs, volunteer, or sign up for community events. Aussies love a give-it-a-go attitude, and showing effort goes a long way. And if you've ever felt like an outsider, even in your own country, imagine that feeling amplified in a new place where everything is familiar, but not quite. Have you ever experienced cultural shock in a place you expected to feel at home? Share your story in the comments. You never know who else might relate. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video on survival tips for newcomers in Australia. You won't want to miss it. Number 9, mental health struggles, a silent epidemic. Despite the sunshine, beaches, and laid-back lifestyle, Australia is quietly facing a mental health crisis that many people don't see coming. Beneath the surface of the no-worries culture, there's a growing wave of anxiety, depression, and emotional burnout affecting millions of Australians, and it's often suffered in silence. According to Beyond Blue, one of Australia's leading mental health organisations, 1 in 5 Australians will experience a mental health condition in any given year. That's millions of people, friends, co-workers, even family, silently battling struggles that aren't always visible. And for newcomers or expats, this issue can hit even harder. The isolation caused by the country's geographic distance from the rest of the world often leads to a deep sense of loneliness, especially if you've left behind support systems in your home country. Combine that with high cost of living, job pressure, or even the emotional stress of adjusting to a new culture, and the cracks begin to show, sometimes when it's already too late. Australia does have excellent mental health resources, but there's still a lingering stigma around seeking help. The culture of toughen up or just get on with it can make people feel weak for reaching out, especially men, who are statistically far less likely to talk about their emotions. Another hidden factor, seasonal isolation. In many rural or regional areas, mental health services are limited, with some people needing to wait weeks just to see a professional. And if you're in a remote part of the country, even that may not be an option. It's a silent epidemic, and the silence itself is part of the problem. Australia may look like paradise on the outside, but for many, it's a beautiful place where the mind can feel trapped. Recognizing the issue is the first step toward real healing. Number 8, housing crisis, rental stress. One of the most pressing issues facing everyday Australians right now is something that doesn't show up in glossy tourist brochures, the housing crisis. Whether you're looking to rent or buy, finding a place to live has become one of the most stressful parts of life in Australia, especially in major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Over the past few years, rental prices have skyrocketed, while vacancy rates have plummeted. In some areas, there's less than 1% rental availability, meaning competition is fierce. It's not uncommon to see dozens of people lining up for inspections, some offering to pay well above the asking price just to secure a home. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's causing real financial and emotional strain. For low to middle income earners, it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep up, Many families are forced to move further out of the city just to afford rent, leading to long commutes and reduced quality of life. In extreme cases, people are even living in cars or temporary shelters while they wait for anything to become available. The crisis doesn't stop at renting. Home ownership, once a core part of the Australian dream, is now out of reach for many young Australians. Property prices have surged well beyond the reach of average incomes, creating a deep divide between those who bought in early and those trying to enter the market today. And it's not just about money, it's about stability. Constant rent hikes, short-term leases, and uncertainty around housing security are creating a generation of people who are always on edge, never quite able to settle. When your home, your safe space, becomes a constant source of stress, it affects every other part of your life. Number 7. Limited public transport in smaller cities. While cities like Sydney and Melbourne offer reasonably developed public transport systems, the picture changes drastically once you move outside the major metropolitan areas. In smaller cities, regional towns, and rural communities, public transport can be shockingly limited or even non-existent, making it incredibly difficult for residents to get around without a personal vehicle. Buses might only run a few times a day, and in some areas, not at all on weekends. Trains often don't reach outer suburbs, and when they do, they may be infrequent and unreliable. Taxis and rideshare services like Uber are not always available either, especially at night. For people without access to a car, students, the elderly, or those on low incomes, this lack of connectivity can be isolating and frustrating. The problem becomes even more noticeable when trying to access essential services. Something as simple as getting to a doctor's appointment, going grocery shopping, or attending a job interview can become a logistical nightmare without reliable transport. It creates an environment where mobility equals opportunity, and those without it often find themselves stuck both literally and economically. This gap in infrastructure also has a ripple effect on housing choices. In larger cities, people can live further from the CBD because trains and buses make commuting possible. But in smaller towns, if you don't have a car, your housing options shrink dramatically, often forcing people to pay higher rents just to be within walking distance of everything they need. Despite the government's efforts to invest in regional infrastructure, progress is slow. For many, the reality is simple. If you don't drive, you don't go anywhere. And in a country as vast as Australia, that lack of movement can make even the most scenic towns feel incredibly closed off and limiting. Number 6. Work-life balance isn't always ideal. Australia often markets itself as the land of a relaxed lifestyle. Think beach mornings, cafe lunches, and early finishes. But the truth is, for many people living and working here, the work-life balance isn't always as ideal as it seems. In reality, Australians work some of the longest hours in the developed world, particularly in full-time roles. According to OECD data, a significant portion of the workforce regularly clocks more than 50 hours a week, especially in industries like finance, healthcare, construction, and hospitality. The laid-back Aussie stereotype doesn't always align with the pressures of modern employment, especially in big cities where competition and cost of living drive people to hustle harder. There's also an unspoken culture in some workplaces where staying late is seen as dedication, even when it's not officially required. Add long commutes into the mix, often an hour or more each way in urban areas, and it's easy to see how personal time quickly disappears. For parents, this often leads to the added stress of balancing childcare and home responsibilities with demanding jobs. Remote work options do exist, but not all industries have embraced them equally. And while some employers genuinely promote flexibility and mental health, others still lag behind, creating environments where burnout becomes common. What's more, the expectation to maintain a good attitude and avoid complaining, even when overloaded, can make it harder for workers to speak up about being overworked. And when you're spending more time at the office than enjoying the outdoor lifestyle Australia is famous for, it starts to feel like a missed promise. So while the image of a chilled-out Aussie life might be true for some, for many others, it's a constant juggling act, trying to keep up with work demands while finding space for everything else that makes life worth living. Number 5. Internet speeds, surprisingly slow. In a country as modern and developed as Australia, you'd expect fast and reliable internet to be a given, but surprisingly, that's not the case. Despite its global status, Australia consistently ranks below many other developed countries when it comes to internet speed and reliability. For a nation that prides itself on innovation and technology, this is a frustration that catches many newcomers off guard. According to the Speed Test Global Index, Australia often lags behind not just countries like South Korea and the US, but even smaller nations like Romania and Thailand. While the introduction of the National Broadband Network (NBN) aimed to fix this, the rollout has been plagued with delays, cost blowouts, and inconsistent quality. As a result, many Australians still experience slow download speeds, frequent dropouts, and poor connections during peak times. This becomes a serious issue for people who work remotely, study online, or rely on cloud services. Video calls may lag, files take forever to upload, and streaming can be frustrating. For digital professionals like designers, content creators, or developers, these limitations can actually impact productivity and job performance. What's worse is that speed and quality vary wildly depending on your location. In urban areas, you might get decent service, but in regional towns or rural areas, internet access can be painfully slow or even unavailable. And with more people moving out of big cities due to housing pressures, the digital divide is becoming a bigger problem. For a country that embraces digital technology in so many other areas, it's ironic that something as basic as internet access can feel so outdated. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone who enjoys watching YouTube without constant buffering, the internet situation in Australia is often more frustrating than functional. Number 4. Harsh sun, the invisible threat. When people think of Australia, they often picture endless sunshine, golden beaches, and outdoor barbecues under clear blue skies. And while the weather is undeniably one of the country's biggest draws, there's a hidden danger that most people underestimate: the harsh Australian sun. Australia has one of the highest levels of UV radiation in the world. Even on cloudy days or during cooler seasons, the UV index can still reach dangerous levels. The sun here isn't just hot. It's intense in a way that can be damaging to your skin, eyes, and overall health without you even realizing it. In fact, Australia holds the world record for the highest rate of skin cancer, including deadly melanoma. According to the Cancer Council, about 2 in 3 Australians will be diagnosed with skin cancer by the age of 70. That's an alarming statistic for a country that prides itself on its outdoor lifestyle. Tourists and new residents often get caught out because the sun doesn't always feel strong. The air might be cool, there may be a breeze, but the UV rays are still doing damage. This invisible threat means that sunscreen, hats, sunglasses, and protective clothing aren't just for beach days, they're a daily necessity. What makes it more challenging is the misconception that tanning is healthy. Many still chase that sun-kissed glow, unaware of the long-term risks. And for those with lighter or sensitive skin, the danger increases dramatically. Even short periods of unprotected sun exposure can lead to serious consequences over time, from premature aging to life-threatening illness. The Australian sun may look warm and welcoming, but it demands respect. In a place where outdoor living is part of the culture, understanding this hidden risk is not just wise, it's essential for staying safe. Number 3, dangerous wildlife, not just a stereotype. You've probably heard the jokes. Everything in Australia wants to kill you. While it might sound like an exaggeration, there's a surprising amount of truth behind the stereotype. Australia is home to some of the deadliest animals on the planet, and unlike what you see in movies, encounters with dangerous wildlife aren't limited to the outback. Start with snakes. Australia has 21 of the world's 25 most venomous species, and they're not just hiding in the bush. They can show up in backyards, garages, even toilets. Then there are spiders. While fatal bites are rare thanks to medical advances, spiders like the funnel web or redback are still common and can deliver painful, potentially dangerous bites. But it doesn't stop there. The blue-ringed octopus found in rock pools along the coast can kill a human in minutes, and it's only the size of a golf ball. The waters are home to box jellyfish and stonefish, both extremely venomous and hard to see until it's too late. And let's not forget the saltwater crocodiles in the northern regions, ancient predators that can strike in seconds. Even everyday life can come with surprises. It's not unusual for Aussies to shake out their shoes in the morning or check under toilet seats, just in case. Most locals are used to these precautions, but for newcomers, it can feel like you're constantly on alert. That said, most of these creatures aren't aggressive unless provoked, and fatalities are extremely rare. Still, the presence of such wildlife adds a layer of tension and caution to daily life that many people don't expect. In Australia, nature is beautiful, but it also demands awareness and respect, because the danger isn't just in the wilderness. Sometimes it's right outside your door. Number 2, isolation from the rest of the world. One of the most overlooked aspects of life in Australia is just how far away it is from the rest of the world. On a map, it might not seem too bad until you actually try to leave. Australia is often described as the lucky country, but it's also one of the most geographically isolated developed nations on Earth. Flights to Europe or North America typically take anywhere from 20 to 30 hours, including layovers. Even trips to closer destinations like Southeast Asia can involve long hauls and hefty price tags. International travel isn't just a weekend getaway. It's a major investment of time, money, and energy. And for many people, especially migrants or expats, this means seeing family and friends becomes a rare event, not a regular one. This isolation also affects the flow of goods, services, and ideas. Certain products take longer to arrive, global trends often reach Australia late, and shipping costs are noticeably higher. Even streaming services sometimes have delayed releases or limited content due to regional restrictions. It's a subtle, ongoing reminder that Australia is physically cut off from the faster-moving parts of the world. Then there's the emotional side. Living so far from everything familiar can create a sense of disconnection, especially during global events or family emergencies. When something major happens back home and you're an ocean away, and then some, that distance feels a lot bigger than just a flight path. To many, Australia feels like a beautiful island at the edge of the world, and while that brings peace and natural beauty, it also means a life that can feel remote and insular. It's something people rarely consider until they're living it, when the homesickness sets in and suddenly the world feels a lot farther away than they expected. Number 1, cost of living. The sticker shock. Australia may offer stunning landscapes, world-class cities, and a high quality of life, but none of that comes cheap. In fact, for many people moving to or even living in Australia, the cost of living can come as a massive shock. From groceries to rent, transport to dining out, everyday expenses can quickly drain your bank account, especially in major cities. Places like Sydney and Melbourne regularly rank among the most expensive cities in the world. Renting a modest one-bedroom apartment in the city centre can easily cost over $2,500 AUD per month, and even in the suburbs, prices remain steep. Buying a home? Be prepared to face median house prices well over $1 million AUD in many urban areas. But it doesn't stop at housing. A regular grocery shop for a small family can cost $150, $250 a week, and even basics like milk, bread, and fresh produce are noticeably pricier than in other countries. A coffee can set you back $5 to $6, and a simple dinner at a mid-range restaurant might leave you with a bill of $100 or more for 2 people. Utilities, insurance, car maintenance, and childcare also come at a premium. And while the average wages in Australia are relatively high, so too are the costs, meaning many people find themselves living paycheck to paycheck despite having decent jobs. It's not uncommon for new arrivals to underestimate how much they'll need just to get by. Budgeting mistakes can lead to serious stress, especially in the early months. And while Australia offers great healthcare and public services, those benefits don't always offset the day-to-day expenses that come with simply trying to live comfortably. The reality is, for all its beauty and lifestyle perks, Australia comes with a hefty price tag, one that many people don't see coming until it's too late. Australia is often portrayed as a dream destination, with endless sunshine, friendly people, and a relaxed way of life. But as we've seen, there's another side to the story. From the sky-high cost of living and housing stress, to isolation, dangerous wildlife, and mental health challenges, life down under isn't always as easy or carefree as it seems. That doesn't mean Australia is a bad place to live, far from it, but it does mean that expectations need to be grounded in reality. Moving to a new country is a big decision, and understanding both the highlights and the hardships is crucial for anyone considering making that leap. If you're already living in Australia, maybe some of these points hit close to home. And if you're planning to move here, hopefully this video helps you plan better, budget smarter, and prepare for the real-life experience, not just the postcard version. Because at the end of the day, every paradise has its challenges. The key is knowing what you're walking into so you can face it with open eyes. And maybe even a bottle of sunscreen and a snake-proof shed,